Okay, in this video, I want to go over the current condition of trees. Um, I end up, it may be part 2 or a different label video of where I went on several hikes recently, and I was really shocked. The one trail I hadn't been to in quite a few years, and can believe the amount of dead trees. So I've got photo slides of those along with some other scientific clues that I linked and found indicating the trees, proving the trees aren't healthy. And in this one, I want to start out. This was an actual United Nations webcast on with an agricultural defense coalition speaker, and I want you to hear what she has to say, who's an actual official, and then I'll play another clip of another forest scene of an expert showing the conditions. We're going to start out here at 1:33 here. And here she is, Rosalind Peterson.
Weather modification programs, experimental ones done by private companies, done by the United States government.
Let's look back up
what
here.
we are seeing is man-made, but
Wait,
from
hold
me
on.
right at the moment, climate change is made in a different way than
Okay.
you may guess. Weather modification programs, experimental ones done by private companies, done by the United States government, done by states across the United States are underway. There's more than 50 of them in operation across the United States. All of these impact agriculture because they change the microclimates needed for agriculture to survive. None of these programs that I know of today, and this is all public record.
So pay attention to what she says, and then when you see my actual photo slides, then you'll be familiar with what's going on.
Are available at any time with oversight, agricultural oversight or public oversight. These programs impact agriculture, and there are programs around the world. International corporations are modifying our weather all the time, and they're modifying it in ways that cover thousands and thousands of square miles. Most of it is chemically altered, so that what happens is that we are putting chemicals, ground-based chemicals that are shot into the air, or chemicals coming from airplanes that change and modify our weather. So one of the things that I'm concerned about and that we need to address in the future is how these programs are impacting microclimates needed for our crops to survive and needed for pollination. If we change the growing season, the pollinators may not survive, and also our crops, our flowers, and our tree crops may not get the pollination needed. So one of my areas is looking at this situation to see if we can begin to put under control experimental and other types of weather modification programs. The other issue is that a lot of times we're talking about mitigation for climate change. It's rather an undefined term at this period of time. And so what happens is that many times we're talking about artificially putting chemicals like sulfur or particulates into the atmosphere in what they call geoengineering schemes to reduce and help the planet, supposedly, but help the planet to not go through such a tremendous global climate change and to mitigate global warming. However, the incidence of putting chemicals into our atmosphere is going to change and impact agricultural crop production. And if you take and you put up into our skies chemicals to reduce the amount of sunlight reaching the earth, you are going to begin to reduce crop production. Studies at the University of Illinois on corn crop production show reductions. Without the process of photosynthesis, whereby plants from direct sunlight gain the energy to grow, to produce crops, we are going to find ourselves, if we mitigate in that direction, impacting the crop production not only here in the United States, but worldwide.
And we'll skip to 6:13. Okay.
Skies, natural or man-made. And right now, we are making man-made clouds, and this is trapping warmth in our atmosphere. The climate change...
Okay, did you hear that? Making... Play that again.
How do you like your skies, natural or man-made? And right now, we are making man-made clouds, and this is trapping warmth in our atmosphere.
Trapping warmth in our atmosphere. Yeah, when you're reflecting heat back.
The climate change that is...
They are producing climate change, not the real climate. The climate changers. The demons flying the planes around, the incompetent idiots flying planes around shooting chemicals are the ones causing the climate change. Which they know, because climate change is all a cover story for the other secret thing that they want to do. Like, oh, I don't know, kill 8 million people off the planet.
Produced by these jets. Not all jets, mostly some non-commercial. But what happens to our skies is that we start to see the changes. The man-made clouds do trap the warmth, and they increase the humidity.
Let's play that again. That's important.
Skies is that we start to see the changes. The man-made clouds do trap the warmth, and they increase the humidity.
Increase the humidity. That's important for when I'm showing my picture slides.
This allows for pests to proliferate, diseases, molds, mildews, funguses, and viruses.
Molds and mildews.
This is a man-made cloud, ladies and gentlemen, and these pictures I took myself over Northern California. And this is a burst. This is where a jet left a huge plume. And then this turned in at the end of it to a burst. And this is not normal. Never seen before in our county historically, and I was born and raised there. This is another picture showing the jet trail just before the burst. This is our skies, and I want you to know that what you're seeing now, a lot of times many scientists know, especially at NASA and in other areas, that the skies that we're seeing are not normal cloud formations. These are man-made. And what happens as we reduce the amount of sunlight in a form of global dimming, we reduce the solar power with these type of clouds, and we reduce photosynthesis, which is going to impact agriculture. The pictures look odd. The formations don't look like normal clouds that people have seen before.
And I've showed you those videos. Ad nauseam.
Historically. This is another type of man-made cloud, and what we have done and what you're seeing here is we have the photographs from the times that the jet leaves the first trail as a thin, spindly trail to where they form into these different types of cloud formations. All of you can start looking up and seeing this. What happens is that there are experiments, and there's a color, you can see some color in this photograph. And part of what we're doing also is we're sending up canisters. The United States government, NASA, the U.S. Air Force, is sending up canisters into the atmosphere filled with chemicals to modify and experiment with our ionosphere. And when we
Keyword experiment, it violates the Nuremberg Code, end of story.
Modify and experiment with our ionosphere up here, we create experiments which they can see through these persistent jet contrails as they stay in the sky for long periods of time, and they can watch the experiments. The type of chemicals they are using are aluminum, barium, strontium, and these canisters are sent up on rockets, and what they do is they superheat the canisters to create experiments in our atmosphere. The experiments can give you colorful auroras, which they talk about as being wonderful.
I believe could be what I saw when I did the rainbow, fake rainbow video, which I saw.
Many times people think that the auroras in Alaska and the ones we see are normal, but there's beginning to be more and more seen across the United States and elsewhere where trimethyl aluminum experiments to make clouds are beginning to impact us. The reason I am concerned for agriculture is that none of these experiments have any public oversight nor agricultural oversight.
No oversight.
Our drinking water is impacted because the chemicals are now beginning to show up in our drinking water. In California, the State Department of Health drinking water tests were examined between 1970 and this year, and we found unusual spiking in barium, aluminum, strontium, magnesium, calcium, manganese, and all of these spiked at the same time in
nanoparticles.
Various drinking water supplies across the state of California and also in Arizona. So what's happening with these atmospheric tests is that aluminum, as one example, gets into, with increased pollution and acid rain, gets into the root systems of our crop trees and our trees, and it looks like the trees are dying of drought, but they're not. What happens is that the root systems can no longer absorb the water and the nutrients needed to survive. Many of our forests in Redding, California and other areas are dying. The oak trees, the redwood trees, the Douglas fir, across the United States, many areas. We believe that these trees are impacted because they cannot absorb enough water because aluminum is going into their root systems. Also, molds, mildew, and fungus from warmer temperatures produced by persistent jet contrails are also allowing pests and molds to proliferate.
Yes. Yes, if you watch my video, Plant Microbe Connection, I got into that. It kills the microbes that the tree needs in order to absorb nutrients and such.
Also impacting tree health and crop health. The skies that you see up here, it is important to note, have a white haze to them. When crossing
white haze, which I did a video on haze measurements with a sun photometer. I'm fixing to do another one because that's something different.
In the United States 2 days ago, we saw this man-made produced haze all the way across the United States. There were a few real clouds. We saw the persistent jet contrails from the jet windows, and the skies in the white haze looked a lot like this.
Yep.
So one of the things that we
can only skip forward to 1330. 1330.
To our drinking water supplies, which are going to get into our soils, which are going to impact our trees. Our trees across the United States, many of them in many areas, especially Mendocino, Lake, and Sonoma County, are dying. They are not healthy as they used to be. And this problem,
which is what I'm seeing,
traveled across the United States into some other areas, seeing the pictures coming in from across the United States and other countries, we're finding that there's beginning to be an impact from all of these programs and all the chemicals in our skies. And so one of the things we need to think about and work for is reducing pollution. Alan Buckram.
Okay, so, all right, and now let's, I'll leave a link in case you want to watch all of that. I played most of it. And now, here's a video that I came across. It's geoengineering killing our trees. I think I found 2 videos, but on this one, I want to skip to 12:14.
This should be illegal.
Let's get through this commercial here.
Not even the Face ID on my iPhone.
Okay, shut up. They're always going to play 2 commercials in a row.
I lost so much weight with this oat trick that not even the Face ID on my iPhone recognized.
Shut up. Let's see. I gotta go to 13. I'm sorry, 12:14. Whoops.
Sure, this is
there.
Are done.
Here we go.
One's near enough to see what's actually occurring here. because the soil microbiome is being killed by the contaminants in the rain. Aluminum, barium, strontium, manganese, polymer fibers. Now we know graphene, chemical isonucleating elements that are used to flash cool areas. That's why we go from 80 degrees to sometimes snow, back to 80 the next day. How obvious could this be? This is engineered winter. This is winter weather warfare. So as we come inside the forest, it looks like it's not that bad from a distance. There's too many people. What's it look like when you get up close? Take a good look. This section of forest was once a closed canopy, completely closed. It's never been logged, never been touched. This is old growth forest. It's completely imploding. And we're told by official agencies, so-called experts, that this is all just because not enough trees are being cut down. And that's why the forests are burning, and that's an absolute blatant lie. Although thinning an understory is necessary in some cases, and most especially after irresponsible logging operations have decimated the forest, in areas like this there was no understory for hundreds of years, perhaps thousands of years, and yet now we see everything dying. It's sickening for me to come here. And what happens when everything dies? Then you have an understory that begins to erupt, and in this case, with a non-indigenous species. This is Scotch broom. It's completely taking over the forest floor. The game can't move through it. It's completely altering the ecosystem. The single greatest causal factor for forest die-off is climate engineering. It's completely disrupting the hydrological cycle, destroying the ozone layer. We face functional ozone layer collapse mathematically, statistically, in as soon as 18 months. We're getting not only UVC in the surface now, as Geology Watchdog has disclosed for nearly a decade, we're now detecting some X-ray. I don't think I need to explain how lethal that is. This is why the forest burns are happening with such intensity. And it's not an accident that climate engineers are cutting off precipitation. Think about it. We know that the U.S. military had the ability to flood regions at will in the 60s, Project Popeye, historical record.
Yeah, so I showed you in the last video, I believe it was, where there's chemtrails for no weather, where they can install highs and prevent rainfall. Like we're still in a drought here in Georgia.
Not my opinion.
A natural drought, I think.
In fact, they were so successful at it that by the latter 70s, INMOD treaties, environmental modification treaties, forbid weather modification in wartime, but not over a country's own population, and nobody pays attention to international law anyway. So now you have this overgrown, completely fuel-laden understory waiting for the first spark to set it off.
Waiting for the first
The
spark.
trees that don't die while they're standing, the root systems are also dying. We know from peer-reviewed study that bioavailable aluminum affects root systems. They sense the toxin. They shut down nutrient uptake. So you have trees tipping over at a far larger rate than they ever have before. One example, root system completely decomposed. Trees tipped over. This tree tipped over when it was alive, and you see the amount of debris on the forest floor. And again, as you look up, all of this was completely closed canopy. And now the sun is beaming through. The intense UV is scorching any organism that can't take that kind of heat. And even the firs that...
No, he just answered one of my questions. In part 2, when I get to these tree rings,
are still alive, are dying. Every tree you see here will be dead by the end of this year. They're thinning. 1 or 2 of those ponderosas may survive. You see the dead trees. These are all Doug fir. Different type of beetle eats the fir. And again, the madrones are holding up better than other trees, but the entire fir forest is succumbing. was a primary tree in this forest.
What a
There's many
shame.
challenges that we face, but
What a
the most
shame.
dire challenges are directly related
All
to the
because of
imploding
idiots.
biosphere, and why are so few acknowledging that?
Rather interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Alright, so that's, I just wanted to play that preview, like a pre-course here, and be sure to tune in now to the second part of this, where I'm going to show the slides that I took over the last week, and some tree rings and mold.